You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
Welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Jamie will educate and empower people, organizations, and communities to help us all make better health and well-being choices. She will also engage you with expert influencers from around the world. So now, please welcome the host of Happiness Ninja Down Under, Jamie Rose.
Welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, and this is Bold Brave TV. You're tuned in live. I am in New York City, and I have a wonderful guest coming from, for the first time in quite a while, the same country. He is in Miami. He is a fabulous man. He goes by the name of Luis Gallardo. He used to be a leading executive for marketing. I think it was global marketing for Deloitte, but then he's branched out onto his own, and he is fabulous. He is the founder of the World Happiness Foundation, the World Happiness Fest, amongst many, many other things, which we will talk about throughout the show. Welcome, Luis. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure being here. I love it.
Oh. It's a pleasure to have you on. The honor is all mine. I like to get stuck into things. I'm absolutely honored to have you here because I think your career and what you've achieved is very amazing, and I hope that I can follow in your footsteps and achieve half of what you've been able to do. I wanted to start with what you work for Deloitte. That's a very large organization around the world. Is that when you first discovered positive psychology? Because I know that they have it sort of embedded within the culture quite a little bit.
That's a great question. I think that is probably before I joined. And my first job was in Europe. I'm from Spain. We play handball. Handball is a very and actually in Australia you are really good at handball.
Yeah, we play handball. Love handball.
so since I was 14 years old, I was a handball coach for kids who were 8. And I was a handball coach for so many years. So I became a national coach. And I went through a lot of training on sports psychology. So I think that was the beginning of really understanding how you want to maximize anybody's potential. You have to focus on strengths. So at that moment, probably, Martin Seligman were around. There were many other psychologists that they didn't call it positive psychology, but they call it psychology focused on strengths. And actually, when you are you are in sports, you have to be really good at understanding what your weaknesses are and your strengths, but you really focus on your strengths. So this is something that now is so important when we go into positive psychology, because character and building strengths is so important. But actually in sports, this is something that is being used forever, because that's the only way you can really maximize the potential of every single member of the team and then accomplish big results. So you need to focus on the individual, how we are going to focus on building their strengths and what are the strengths of the whole team in order to maximize everybody's strengths. So this is very interesting. So I would go back to sports. Then definitely when you're at the corporate level, you get into managing teams for performance. You're always thinking about maximum performance, and high performance is really based on a strengths-based management as well. So I think that probably that's the combination of both sports and understanding the reality of how to maximize teams at the corporate level, where you have to go really, really deep into human behavior.
So I wasn't aware that you were so into strengths specifically, and that's where it all started. Are you familiar with strengths profile?
Oh, absolutely. And
yeah,
I use it many times for many teams via character, of course, strengths.
Yeah.
And then there are many other tools as well.
Yeah, there's Gallup strengths as well.
Exactly, but it's so important. Some people get caught and they waste so much time trying to improve weaknesses without strengthening first what works. So, and this is something that honestly, sports and high performance sports is telling you this all the time, and you see that you cannot ask a fish to climb a tree.
No.
and that so you have to put the fish where the fish belongs, and you understand that in sports very quickly, because not every player can do the same. So you have to play that you have to find the right the right spot and so on.
I think, and I would like to hear if you agree, do you believe that attitude and that philosophy and that knowledge is what made you so successful at Deloitte?
Well, I think that awareness is the first step to achieve anything in life, in anywhere. So the moment you are aware, that's the moment you can start building on your strengths or improving your weaknesses as well. So I think probably awareness and being aware is the first step.
Yeah, self-awareness is the key. We do have to cut to the break now, but we'll be back in a couple of moments and then we'll continue up with this. Stay tuned, guys.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and this is Bold Brave TV. Welcome back. We have the fabulous Luis here, the founder and president of the World Happiness Foundation, and he also created the World Happiness Fest, amongst many, many other subdivisions of his organization. Thank you, Luis, for joining me. We have many things to get through. You're a very, very accomplished man. But I just wanted to first get a little bit of insight into what drew you to positive psychology initially, and what do you think you saw in it that a lot of people still today aren't understanding and are misunderstanding about the whole industry, I guess?
Yeah, I think that it was a natural evolution. I study sociology, so I'm really into understanding how communities work. The moment you go deep into communities, the biggest project I had to manage was to become an international observer with the United Nations in post-armed conflicts. So I was in Bosnia right after the war, and I was an international observer. There, when you are there, you realize how the combination of hate and fear becomes a really important driver for leaders to agitate everybody. So when you combine hate and fear, which is the opposite of positive psychology, you can really move everybody. And we've seen it. The moment you start telling people that something bad is going to happen, immediately you don't need to do anything. You're already feeling the fear because cortisol is being segregated by your body and your brain. So I think that what I really learned when I was in this situation of afterward, in the middle of all this drama, I found a lot of people with a lot of hope. And I was like, how can you have hope when you go through so much trauma? And I really wanted to go to the roots of trauma. And when you go to the roots of trauma, from a sociological point of view, you understand and you realize that collective trauma requires collective healing. But that's something people really understand. But when you go into deep transformation, and this is what brought me to positive psychology, you realize that you have to focus on not just what's not working, but actually what is working. And that's the post-traumatic growth that you can find. And something that I really opened my eye was when I found the data that shows you that out of two people with stress and trauma, one of them gets post-traumatic stress, the other one gets post-traumatic growth. So when you go into that dichotomy, is like, okay, why is somebody going through so much stress? Why somebody is going through growth? And then you go deeper and deeper, and you get into an analysis, and then you go to the roots of trauma. And I feel that that's the big add and the big gift that the positive psychology movement is bringing to the world, which is looking at things not just from the illness point of view, but actually from the opportunity, from the positivity, and from the strength and growth. So that's why. But it's not the only solution, because we know that, and I deal with a lot of groups with deep traumas, such as caregivers or wounded warriors or people who actually went through big loss. And their survivals, and in many cases you cannot start with positive psychology. You have to really understand what is the wound. So you have to go deep into awareness, and you have to really understand what is the root of suffering. And getting to the root of suffering requires a lot of introspection and awareness and mindfulness. Then you can use gratitude. Self-compassion is so powerful to start with for any healing process. Forgiveness, you can
self-love
and positivity. But at some point you need to get to a baseline, and then from the baseline you decided you are moving more into the healing of the wound through mindfulness and self-awareness, or you are going to go into strengthening the positive angle of who you are.
I'm reading like between the lines of what you're saying, and I'm thinking along the lines of also the environment and government impacts. And I'm just recalling, you go by a polycentric model, I believe it is. Yeah. I'm just sort of hearing in between what you're talking about and the overarching theme of understanding trauma. It can come from a higher up political regime as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, since we are born in a system. We are born in one family that has beliefs and culture and rituals, and that family belongs to a community. That community belongs to a larger community. At some point, we decided to rule the world by countries. So now we don't have a country. We cannot be part of the system, and that creates the renewal of the elites. And this is something that you really see in every single culture, how the elites renew themselves. And that normally happens through processes and through rules and legislation. So basically, at some point, if somebody is born today, is going to born in a world that they didn't create it at all. And they have to learn.
They just have to learn to survive.
About the environment. So the environment is going to have a major effect on you. And if you have to be aware of what is the role of the environment in you. We know as well that it's normally no more than 10% from a lot of research. But for some people, 10% makes a lot.
Well, I think also the thing that to take into consideration is some countries have a deeper root in their cultural foundation that's more aligned with positive psychology than other cultures that just aren't. They're more about individualism and they promote selfishness.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is why we have to choose where we live and to what communities we want to belong, because they condition our happiness and our well-being.
Yeah, it's very interesting and complex, especially given the fact that our environments do only, the research shows it is only 10%, but that 10% can really affect some people in quite a negative fashion. We do have to cut to the next break. It goes so quickly, so stay tuned and we'll be back to dig further into this topic.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com. or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, caregivingcoach.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and this is the Bold Braid TV network. I have the wonderful Luis Gallardo here with me. He is the founder of the World Happiness Foundation, as well as he has written several award-winning books across multiple industries, but we're only going to be focusing on a couple of those today, aren't we, Luis? Thank you once again for joining me. So one of your books is called Happytalism. Did I pronounce that right? Is that how we pronounce it? Happytalism?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us what that's about. I'm just going to preface it with, it reminds me of the opposite of what communism could be about. Am I going down the right path there?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, I play with the ism. And if we look back in history, we had many of them: imperialism, feudalism. You can have as many isms as you want. But I feel basically what I mean by happytalism is that at some point we are going to be emerging, and we already see this. We already see this in many small communities around the world. We are emerging, and we are moving into a system where people are fundamentally seeking happiness, not wealth. And I have nothing against wealth. I think wealth is fantastic when you use it in order to help
what
others.
You do with it. Exactly.
So I think that at some point, I personally realized that every single body in this world is born to be of service to others. And the sooner everybody realizes that we are here to be of service, the better our life will be, because then when you're a waiter, you will be serving your customers, and you will be very proud about that. And when you are a lawyer, you know that you are serving your customers. It's not about litigation. It's about defense. When you are when you're a teacher, you know that you are serving your students. So I think that it's amazing, because it's so strange to find one profession that is not about serving. However, the moment we are in our space, we feel entitled to defend what we have. And this is very much connected and related to a lack of security and fear of the unknown. So I think that what the signal that I'm giving with Happytalism is that if we really want to create a world with more freedom to be, consciousness to expand and evolve, we are going to need happiness to share. So it's not about being happy to keep it for yourself and say, oh my goodness, I'm so happy, I feel so good, I'm going to keep it for myself. No, you're going to be happiness. When you are happiness, then you are of service, and you are going to be sharing that together with that freedom and that consciousness. So the combination of those three elements is what I call fundamental peace. And when we get us to a state of fundamental peace, we are really creating the foundations for new systems. So I think Happytalism is a concept that I want to put out there for people to debate and say, okay, if we were to live in a system that we create, actually the 7.6 billion people that are living in the world today had the opportunity to create a new system where we want to, and we could flourish and live in peace, what system would that be? What would be the currency? And for example, for me, the currency will be time instead of money.
Giving your skills and strengths to
others. So we will be living in a kindness economy. We'll be sharing. We'll be creating the conditions for everybody to be to actually acknowledge diversity, equity, inclusion. I think that right now there is so much good going on in the world, but we are still living in systems that focus much more in scarcity than abundance. And however, we are nature, and nature is abundant. Nature is balanced. Nature tends to be creative and integrate. And if we are nature, we have to live by the nature rules. And however, I think that over the last, especially 100 years, we've been creating systems that are very cannibalistic, are very based on masculinity instead of this divine feminine energy. They are more
toxic masculinity, because we don't want to like, say all masculinity is bad, but toxic masculinity, I think, is the key that we're talking about, like unhealthy masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not about sex; it's about energy.
No, exactly. Yes.
So in this case,
the protection and nurture element.
Exactly, it's the nurture. So if we say that we are living in Mother Earth, I mean, it's not fair what we are doing to our mother. It's not fair at all.
No.
So I think that we have to rethink. We have to reset, and we have to have an open dialogue about what are the real systems that we want to keep building in the future, and the emergent systems. Because we are in nature and we are part of nature, we just have to listen to the signals. We just have to go into the forest and see how systems are organized. We are living in a systemic and interconnected world, and we are, however, creating silos and dividing all the time. So it is not natural what we are doing now, right now. And so I think this is what Happytalism is about. It's a call to action for people to say, okay, what is the real system that we want in order to flourish, in order to be at peace, in order to create fundamental conditions for everybody to be happier.
I couldn't agree more. It's a fascinating topic. We do have to cut to the break in a moment, so we can't get fully into it. As you were talking, though, the things that I was thinking about were the fact that I think that, from my perspective, two key elements are missing that, help to create this division and this scarcity and this mindset and everything that we're talking about. And those two things are that deeper meaning and purpose, and then just that collective community feeling. We're really pushing individualism more and more, and that's causing more and more separation. I know you can't respond to that. We do have to cut to the break, but we'll come back in a few moments. You can ponder that, the audience, and then come back and we will continue on. Thank you, and stay tuned.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine, and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network. Have you ever felt like no one is listening, or you're not getting the honest attention you deserve? Do you even know the kind of attention you want or need? You are not alone. Alice Aspen March is here to help. Thanks to Alice, through her epiphany and research over the word attention, there are solutions to the attention dilemma. Worldwide audiences have been enthralled and engaged for over 40 years with her visionary and pioneering observations. The kind of attention we get and give is vital to improving our lives and society. Alice and her weekly guests review game-changing insights for transforming and improving our understanding of attention, providing techniques for creating healthier and empowering behavior. Get a new perspective on a mainstream word. Tune into Why Our Attention Matters for fresh and thought-provoking conversations every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on boldbravemedia.com and the TuneIn Radio app.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and this is the Bold Brave TV network. Thank you, Luis. We were just talking before the break, and I didn't really give you a chance to respond. Did you want to just wrap up on anything about purpose and meaning and community missing, or it's a lack of focus in the current world?
Well, yes, and especially when we talk about purpose, because I think this is one of the things that we got it wrong. We got it wrong from the beginning. We think that purpose is about doing something, when purpose is not about doing anything. It's about being. So this is very interesting because all these companies, all these institutions, and so many people feel that they don't have a purpose, that they don't know what their purpose is, and that's because they are looking in the wrong way. They are thinking that they have to do something, that they have to set goals. And purpose is not about setting goals. Purpose is about discovering and remembering who we are deep inside. That's why going deeper into strengths, going deeper into character, going deeper into silence, that's what is going to guide us into our meaning and purpose. So it's so interesting because right now, because of all these 2 years of transformation around the world, we see how so many people are completely burned out. And well, in the US, people are leaving their jobs right now.
Yeah, not just the US. The Japanese have a similar culture with their jobs as well. I was talking about this to somebody the other day.
So right now people are
crazy.
Really the job burn out. Why? Because there is not alignment between their personal purpose and their company purpose. And why? Because none of them got it right. Because the person didn't have enough time to be in silence, discovering and remembering who they are. And the company is so short-term focused on results and profitability that they don't have the real time to really realign why they exist in business. So I think that this is a major transformation we are going on, and I think that's probably why new systems, as we were talking before, as Happytalism, are more needed than ever, because we have to reset and we have to rewire in many ways a concept that very important concepts such as profit and meaning that we don't even understand what they are.
Yeah, which I think kind of leads nicely into, you have another book and it's called The Exponentials of Happiness. And what I'm hearing is, I mean, I'll let you take us through this, but all of this leads into how we can basically increase the happiness. So did you want to talk about that second book and the meaning behind that? How can we, as people, as individuals, as society, how can we make happiness exponential?
Yeah, and the word is exponential and exponentiality was really unknown 3 years ago. But now that we went through exponential virus, we know how virus work. And we know how one day you have one case, and the day after you have 100, and the day after that you have 10,000. And now we have millions and millions of cases around the world. That's exponentiality. Exponentiality is to multiply.
Yeah, the rapid growth.
And that rapid growth has tipping points. The same happens with happiness. Happiness is another virus. So the moment we understand that it's contagious, that's the moment where you can actually do the opposite. It's like, what tenets, what traits can we choose in this world that can have a ripple effect that is beneficial and is good for humanity? And this is what I call the exponentials of happiness. It's based on singularity. It's based on the multiplication of systems and having a ripple effect that can transform the world. That's why at the World Happiness Foundation and the World Happiness Fair, we are super optimistic about getting to the whole population in the world to happiness before 2050. Because our theory of change is really focused on a train-the-trainer model where we can really bring the skills and the tools to as many people as possible. Because right now, something so interesting that we see in the world that many people feel a lot of fear, suffering, but today we know that suffering is optional. And it might sound radical, but I say that it's optional because today we have enough technology, enough tools, and enough knowledge to apply and to eradicate suffering from planet Earth. But we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do it. And that's where we get into the space of what in many practices they call ignorance, is actually not knowing. So when we don't know, it's very difficult and very easy to change what we do and who we are. So this is part of what we do with the festival and with the foundation. We want to create awareness, and then when we want to move people from awareness into the state of mindfulness, which is basically knowing why things happen. So there are two states.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I still feel that positive psychology and just even the word happiness, the term happiness, is really, really misunderstood still. And so that's where I guess, like, I love that, you want this rapid growth of happiness. We're so aligned that, that's been my whole purpose behind the positive, the Happiness Ninja. We're going to have to cut to the break, but when we come back, maybe you'd like to discuss some of the challenges that you've had around people understanding this word happiness, and that, especially within the business world. I love what you've accomplished, because you have accomplished it in a business way, and this is the future. We need to. It goes back to that that polycentric model where we have to educate our leaders to then educate the rest of the people. So we do have to cut to the break, but we'll come back and we will discuss that more. So stay tuned, guys.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and this is Bold Brave TV. I have the fabulous Luis Gallardo here with me. He is the founder of World Happiness Foundation and World Happiness Fest, among many other different divisions of that. He is an author. He is very, very accomplished. The list would go on, but I need to get into this segment and continue it on. Thanks again, Luis. So before the break, I brought up the challenges of the word happiness and getting the business world to understand the benefits of happiness within the organization. Like a lot of the times they think the opposite, that if people are happy within the workplace, then that will be distracting them from their work and not making them more productive. But we know the research says that happiness equals productivity. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the challenges that you faced with shaking people awake to what happiness really is about within the business world.
It's a great question, and I don't think there is a single answer to that question. So I'm going to give you mine. But you know, mine is not the common answer to this, because what I've learned, and I've been at the corporate level for quite a long time in really big companies, public companies, non-public, small companies, is that my conclusion and my takeaway is that companies shouldn't be making anybody happy. What they should be is not making people unhappy. So that would be my only ask. It's like, okay.
How is that possible? Most people are unhappy at work.
And this is the super interesting space we are in, because there are so many people miserable and unhappy at work, and that people think that is because of the company. The reality is that that's not the reality. The reality is that they are miserable because of themselves, because they didn't have enough time to go deeper into the self-awareness that we spoke before, because they didn't have time to quit, because they didn't have time to reframe and understand what the company was giving them. So I think that in the happiness space, especially when we talk about corporation, we have to be very careful, because when we go to the essence of humanity and humans, the essence is light and is positive and is happiness. So we are already happiness. What we need to find is the right communities, including companies, that help us nurture who we are. But if we are in one community and we are not happy and we don't change anything and we don't do things in order to accomplish and to get connected to our own happiness, then we are going to go in, basically we are going to get into the trap that everybody gets, which is being unhappy at work and bringing your unhappiness from work to home. So imagine at some point we have to cut that. So what we see now is that there are companies with really conscious leaders who are saying, okay, I know that people by nature want to be happy. How do I do something in my company in order to nurture these people? So I think that we have to focus on the people who are doing good things, not the people who are not getting it. Because there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of things because by nature, nobody wants to see your neighbors suffering. So I think that what gets things a bit complicated is that we are in a market, and in the market, you have to compete. And when you compete, there are many people that don't know how to get the best from everybody because you are under pressure. And when you are under pressure, normally people tend to freeze. They get blocked. Some people really stop, and some people run. So I think that we are right now living under so much pressure in so many ways that it's a number of people who are raising their own freedom, consciousness, and happiness who are able to help other people. But the reality is that most people live under a level below courage. And actually, when we look at scales of consciousness, especially, we see that there is a level of consciousness that is below courage that is where almost the whole humanity is. So the more fear we put into the system, the less freedom people are going to have in order to achieve their own happiness. So that's the business world. The business world is very difficult. And I think that we have to be very, very supportive of every single leader at any single level of the organization that want to change things and to be more compassionate. It's very difficult to talk about compassion at work, but we know that compassion is the beginning of every fundamental change that we want to do at the society level, and self-compassion is the first step to do it at the personal level. So I think that basically the big challenges is to understand how and what the levers of corporate are. So for example, when I was at Deloitte, I didn't use the word happiness. I used the word risk. And everybody understood risk. And the question was, what are the risks in order to lose our talent? So if we lose our talent, what risk are we facing? And suddenly everybody understood that the focus should be on not losing our talent. So if you don't want to lose your talent, what do you have to do? Well, you have to understand what they want. And then when you understand what they want, when you want to know what they want, you ask them. And then when you ask them, you understand that actually they don't want a lot. They want psychological security. They want to be safe. They want to know that they are going to be fired in a week. They want to be fairly paid. They want to have resources. They want to have autonomy. They want to play in teams when they have to play in teams, but they want to be autonomous to make decisions. So when you go deeper into what all these people want at work, it's so easy from a company point of view to adapt and to reframe the benefits you are going to give them. And then happiness becomes the byproduct. Happiness becomes, in many ways, the outcome. And some people right now are trying to bring happiness at work in the wrong way because they think that that's the goal. No, that's going to be the outcome. And at the corporate level, we really understand the difference between outputs and outcomes. It's different. So you have an input, and then you have outcomes and outputs. And if we don't get that right, then we misunderstand what happiness is at work.
Yeah, it is a fascinating topic. We have to cut to the break and wrap up. We only have one quick segment left. Just as a side note, I had Trudy Bateman on from Capfinity, and I'm pretty sure that from the research that she's been doing, that courage is the number one biggest weakness of across the world, which I found really interesting. You can't comment, I know, but we will come back and we will wrap up. Stay tuned, guys.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
It was almost instant. I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com. or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, and this is Bold Brave TV, and we have come to the last segment. It always goes so quickly. Luis, thank you very much for your time today. To wrap up, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the Happiness Fest coming up. There's a World Happiness Week that's part of the festival. Did you want to share with the audience and give it a plug so people can find that? It's coming up in March next year.
Absolutely. So yes, just so everybody knows, we have an International Day of Happiness, United Nations official day. That's March 20th. Is a very symbolic day, but we managed to get the United Nations approve it with the support from 194 countries. So everybody has the right to be happy at some point. And in this case, what we want to push it is not just to be happy, to be happiness. That's why during the March 20th week, we celebrate the World Happiness Week. And you can go to the World Happiness Foundation, and you would see there all the agenda and all the activities. But this is really an invitation to everybody, wherever you are in the world, celebrate happiness as a human right. Some people think that we shouldn't celebrate happiness. And especially now that we are through collective trauma, now we need collective healing, and happiness is a healer. So for those who think that happiness is just in the private sphere, I mean, go beyond that. Happiness exists to be shared. And the more we share it, the better for everybody. So this is what we are here for, to encourage everybody to have the courage to move into happiness and love. And that energy is really needed today in the world. So this is what we do at the World Happiness Foundation, at the World Happiness Fest, and we invite everybody to celebrate.
And it was worldhappiness.foundation?
Yes, .foundation, yes.
So I encourage everybody to go to worldhappiness.foundation and check that out. Luis and his team have done some amazing things, and they will continue to. So I encourage everybody to get involved. I know that I am, and I'm really excited to be part of many aspects coming up. So I just wanted to do that one last plug and encourage that. Thank you so much again for joining me, Luis. I really wish we had more time. There's so many things that I would like to go into and for you to share with the audience, but I just want you to know I really, really, really appreciate your time and what you're doing in the world, because we need more people like you. So thank you very, very much.
Likewise, Jamie, you are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for being a ninja and for hacking happiness in such a beautiful way. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, to take us out, I think you're the perfect person. Maybe we can do a ninja pose because no one ever has with me.
Like that?
Yeah. We'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah.
This has been Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Tune in each week and join the conversation as Jamie highlights the true power of the human mind to create a thriving world. Right here on Jamie Rose's Happiness Ninja Down Under.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.